Welcome to our Hiring Co-op Students webinar. I'm admitting some people as we go along here, so people are still joining. We are delighted that you joined us today. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Lori Clausen, and I am the Work Integrated Learning Project Coordinator for the College of the Rockies. So I'll be responsible for hosting this presentation today, and I'm glad also to welcome Jack Mose, who is the Dean of Trades and Technology, and Jack will provide an overview of work integrated learning with a specific focus on co-op education. We are also joined today by Charlene Rivard. Charlene is the General Manager of the Canada Inn in Invermere, and Charlene will share her experience as a co-op employer in our region. And also on the call today are Jen Smith and Rhonda Sheridan. And Jen and Rhonda are the co-op. You might see their faces there. They've come on. Great. Jen and Rhonda are the co-op and employment services coordinators for the College of the Rockies. And going forward, they will be your contacts as the co-op programs move forward. And so the biographies for our speakers is on our webinar registration page, so I won't go through that today. And just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started today. We ask that you mute your microphone during the presentations and to keep them muted. We also ask if you do have your camera on, if you turn your camera off as well. And if you have a question during a presentation, please add it to the chat. We will accept questions after each presenter and at the end of the webinar. And if you would like to ask your questions verbally, you may use the raise your hand feature and we will unmute your mic. We are recording today's session and we'll provide a copy of the slide deck after the webinar. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Great. And as we get started, the first thing I would like to do is a territorial acknowledgement. And the College of the Rockies campuses are located on the ancestral lands of the Ktunaxa people, which is home to the Kinbasket people and the chosen home of the people of the Métis Nation. And we acknowledge, value, and honor all of our Indigenous partners and are constantly seeking new ways to support the development of all of our communities. And with that, I will turn the floor over to Jack Mose.
Thank you very much, Lori. My name is Jack Mose. I'm the Dean of Trades and Technology at College of the Rockies. Just to set the stage, most of you probably know this already, but Cranbrook is home to the main campus of College of the Rockies. We have satellite campuses at other communities within the region as well. We are small college proud, but have a diverse array of programming to meet the needs and aspirations of people in the region and the needs of employers throughout the region as well. We have programming in trades and technology and business, tourism, hospitality, university transfer, a teacher education partnership with the University of Victoria. In our health and human service area, we have nursing, dental assisting, child, youth, and family services, and healthcare aid. We also, throughout the region, offer continuing ed and various contract training opportunities. So small, but very active and diverse, and very proud of what we do in the region. To get on to the topic at hand, work integrated learning, to define the more generic term, is a form of experiential education that's part of the curriculum, part of the student experience, and it formally integrates into a student's academic studies a quality experience within a workplace or practice setting. So generally speaking, that's what it is. There's a number of different forms of work integrated learning. The quintessential one, apprenticeship, is one that likely many of you are familiar with. It is the model of education that we work with in our trades programs. It involves long periods of work-based training, along with generally shorter periods of technical training that take place at the college. And that typically runs over a 4-year period, depending on the trade, until the apprentice achieves their journeyperson Red Seal status. Co-op education is the one that we're going to focus our attention on today, but there are a number of others that we'll be exploring over time as well. And I won't say too much about those right now, but I just wanted you to be able to see the list, because, as I said, over time we'll be exploring some of these other areas for work integrated learning as well. So co-op education, we can go to the slide for the co-op ed definition. Cooperative education consists of paid work terms that occur between periods of academic study. So a typical example would be a diploma program in which year one takes the academic portion of year one, takes 8 to 9 months of the year, and then there's a paid work term of 3 to 4 months, and that's followed by another academic year of 8 to 9 months, at which time, all going well, the student graduates, hopefully into long-term employment in the career path of their choice. Our one co-op education program right now is our hospitality management program that runs out of our Invermere campus. And it has been a success for us. It's been a benefit to the students that have been in that program. It's been a benefit to the employers who have hosted those students as co-op education students. And certainly it's been a benefit to the college to be confident that we're offering quality programming that meets the needs of students and employers in the region. So we're looking to build on that success by developing cooperative education as a feature in a number of our other program areas as well. And Lori, next slide, please. As you can see, currently hospitality management, but to that, there's quite a number of other program areas that we think are good candidates to have co-op education options, and we are working toward those right now. In a few cases, we should see some co-op education options in a few of these programs by the summer of 2022, and more to follow with each year after that. It is important to recognize that cooperative education is a partnership. And we can go to the next slide, Lori. The partnership is really crucial to the success of cooperative education. It really is a three-way relationship between industry, college, and student. And the industry, the employers in the co-op ed partnership are really critical to the success of cooperative education as a formal part of a program, which is why we are inviting you to these sessions and introducing the concept and inviting you to explore further with us the fit for co-op education in your context and in relation to the programs in which we're developing those co-op ed options. So, to make the long story short there, co-op education doesn't work without a group of industry partners, employers who have bought in, who have been willing to act as co-op ed hosts. So this this presentation is aimed at providing you some information, and ultimately we hope that some of you will then consider signing on as co-op ed employers. Question perhaps is why? Why would you consider that? And we can go to the next slide. Well, first is that co-op ed students allow you to develop and access specific skills that your organization and your industry require. These students have specific talents, specific things that they've been learning in their programs, and you can put that to work, and they will actually get beneficial work done for you while they strengthen their skills and progress in their capacity. The the next benefit that I would point you to, and actually I would go to the third bullet, Lori, is actually the opportunity to pre-screen potential new long-term hires. In my experience with co-op ed programs in the past, co-op ed employers often find that 3 to 4 month period of co-op ed employment as an opportunity to really evaluate and identify strong new talent. And often those co-op ed students return once they've graduated to long-term employment, to mutual benefit, obviously. Next, it is an opportunity for you as an employer to give back to the community by contributing to the development of strong skills, the kind of skills that ultimately you need as an employer, to partner with the college and in the enterprise of ensuring that students going through college programs end up with strong skills, the kind of skills that you need as employers. Finally, sometimes the hiring of a co-op ed student allows for you to either manage short-term pressures. Sometimes in seasonal businesses, such as in the hospitality and tourism sector, there is a busy season, and co-op ed students really are valuable during those busy seasons. There's other special projects that might be done as well. How will the college support you as an employer? Well, this is unlike some of the other kinds of work integrated learning that you might think of, like practicum placements. This is a situation in which you actually hire the co-op student and go through a hiring process. We will help to coach you through that process, help to describe and describe the job, create the posting, shortlist candidates, and set up interviews with those candidates so that you can ultimately make a selection of a co-op student that is a good fit with you as an employer. In addition, one of the things that we'll talk about in a little more detail momentarily is that there are a number of wage supports available to you as an employer to assist with the costs associated with hosting a co-op ed student, and we will provide you some assistance and direction with finding and accessing, applying for those opportunities. At this point, I would like to invite our guest, Charlene Rivard, who has already been introduced to you as the General Manager of Canada Inns Invermere. Charlene has participated as a co-op ed employer in our hospitality management program, I think from the outset of that program a few years ago, and based on her experience, is a very enthusiastic supporter. And we thought no better way for you to learn about how co-op ed works from an employer perspective than hearing from one of our co-op ed employers. So thank you, Charlene, for joining us today. And the floor, figuratively speaking, is yours.
Thank you so much, Jack. That was a great introduction to the hiring process and the support from the College of the Rockies. So I just wanted to explain a few things that I have experienced working with the college. So for the hiring process, like Jack had mentioned, the instructors will definitely work with you on all of your requirements that you need. So to post your job, what you're looking for the students, your interview process, hiring them, and then offering them a job offer letter to kind of make them understand the whole process of hiring. The instructors will schedule meetings, and they will come onto your job site and they will do reviews with you in person or even over the telephone with you, so that you have that constant communication with the college and the student and the workplace. The engagement with the college is vital. It's really important to keep that active and consistent. And in turn, they will interact with you and the students as well. The college, they can send you appointment schedules, emails for communication tools, and their follow-up with the students' progress. So if you happen to have any questions or concerns regarding your students, the instructors are there to help you. So just remember that you're not doing this alone. You actually have a team behind you and a lot of support to give you. So the interview process and the support from the college is by far one of the best. They're very supportive for their students, and the students are very happy to be getting out into the workforce and working as well. So it's a win-win for everybody. The experience of having a co-op students in my current workplace has been wonderful. I've done it for 2 years. This would have been the third summer. I had 2019, 20, and then 21, but unfortunately, just due to COVID and the pandemic, it just didn't fit well to have another session. But I was encouraged, and I really wanted to reach out and to continue participating with the college and the students. So my experience for the 2 sessions that I had were great. I had students from the college that worked part-time. They stayed on with me after their co-op program, and that was really good because they continued to have that longevity in the hospitality field, and they could get more experience until they graduated from the program. Having the students stay and return to your business is really good for both the morale of the student and for the company. So again, it's a win-win situation. A little background about myself. I personally was a co-op student, so I could relate to them when I actually took the hospitality course. And it was really nice to say, you know what, I used to do this when I was a student, and I used to do that when I was a student. And I think giving them a little bit of understanding of what it was like as a student and then now as an employer really helped the students to understand that they could actually go through with this and succeed at being a co-op student and graduate and to work in the industry that they are taking the schooling for. So that was really important. Tips for new employers: stay engaged, stay connected with your college, reach out, express interests that you want to be involved. So that's really key. So if you want to get involved in a co-op program, express your interest to the people on this panel today so that they know that you are interested in having a student maybe in the future, 2022, 23, or just that you're interested in having something like this coming down the line for you. Working with your community and students is a great experience for you. as your business, and mentoring and coaching a younger generation is also key. So if you're into coaching or leadership or mentoring anybody, this is really good because you can take that student under your wing and assist them along the way. And you never know what will happen after graduation, and hopefully they will come back and be really helpful that you help them along the way. Any questions?
If you think of a question for Charlene, you can go ahead and put that in the chat, and we can answer that as we go as well. Thank you so much, Charlene. We appreciate your contribution here and your participation as a co-op ed employer. Your enthusiasm is obvious, and we're appreciative of that. One of the things that underlies some of what you talked about is that it is something that requires a commitment of you as an employer. It's not quite the same as hiring a summer student, telling them what to do, and then sending them off. This is in order for it to be win-win all around. The understanding is that you will be a coach and a mentor, and that you'll provide a progressive work experience for students so that they do really strengthen their skills and become strong candidates to support your businesses in the long run. And so it is important to recognize that from the outset. When we speak of it as a partnership, it is something that the college will commit to as one side of that partnership. You as an employer will be making a commitment on the other side, because this is fundamentally not only a work experience for students, but a learning experience for students, and you participate in that learning process. I mentioned that there are a number of funding opportunities that you can access as a co-op ed employer. Some of them aren't strictly about co-op ed employment, but co-op ed employment is certainly eligible. One is the Student Work Placement Program. It is federally funded. It can subsidize up to 75% of wages, up to a maximum of $7,500. You can find out more about that via that link there, but again, when the time comes, we will also help steer you to these and any other funding opportunities that we become aware of in the meantime. The next one is also a federally funded program. It targets youth 17 to 29 for a minimum 3-month placement. It's a quick application process in this case and can subsidize up to $3,600. If we go to the next one, our Columbia Basin Trust in the region is also a supporter of co-op ed placement. They will subsidize up to $8 an hour, 40 hours a week, for one student per employer per co-op term, for a total of 12 to 16 weeks of funding. Yes, I note your question, Sharon. We'll come back to that just in a minute. Next, also from CBT is the SchoolWorks program, and that's available for those scenarios like Charlene described, where the co-op student stays on a part-time basis when they return to school in the fall. And finally, in our list for the moment is Canada Summer Jobs Grant, also targets youth 15 to 30. does not need to be a student, but of course, in the case of Co-op Ed, we're talking about students by definition. In this case, the average funding is 8 weeks at 35 hours per week. We have been asked in previous webinars whether any of these are stackable, and we've done a little bit of investigation there, and in the interests of fairness, generally speaking, these are not stackable. So Sharon, you've asked what day-to-day documentation, progress, comments were expected by the college about your students? You know, what was the daily paperwork? Charlene, do you want to speak to that?
Certainly. There wasn't so much daily paperwork. They do ask you to do, because it's a 3-month co-op session for when the students are out of school, they do ask you to do a follow-up every 30 days. So every 4 weeks, you're going to sit down with your student and figure out their goals, how they're doing with your perceptives of what you want to see within the first 4 weeks, the second 8 weeks, and then the 12 weeks. And then how did they make out overall? You kind of do a final evaluation of the student and the workplace when you're done the evaluation. But if you happen to have any concerns regarding the evaluations at 4 weeks and 8 weeks and 12 weeks, the college can help you with that. But the college will just call and check up and check in with the student and see how everybody is adjusting and how everything is going with you. And that could be a commitment. Within the first 4 weeks, you might have some meetings every week or one every 2 weeks. It just depends on the student, and it depends on yourself if you have any questions and if you have any concerns. I know the very first year that I was involved, we didn't quite understand, the students didn't quite understanding about being late and then calling in if they couldn't make a shift. So that was really interesting, where they just didn't quite understand that understanding. So then you had to work with the student to say, no, this is how we kind of expect, we have expectations, and we need you to be at work when you are scheduled to come to work. So in the beginning, in the first 4 weeks, you might have a lot of one-on-ones with the students and with the college, and you might have some phone calls going back and forth. But overall, the documentation is just 3 evaluations that they asked for. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Charlene. So it sounds like we, you know, from the employer's perspective, there's periodic formal check-ins. You have obviously more regular interaction as necessary with your student in the informal or as required coaching and mentoring over the course of the season. But the formal sort of progress check-ins really 3 times during your co-op experience, right? Question from Mike Adams, and that was about co-op for business admin and the co-op work term that went from January to April, which gave accounting students the chance to work during tax season. So initially, we're focusing on summer co-op placements. It is certainly a possibility, and that would be a process, I think, of employer consultation, along with you know, programs where it is feasible to do the scheduling around co-op terms that don't fall during the May through August period. So this is not on the radar screen, at least initially, but it may be a possibility as our experience in reintroducing co-op education in some of these programs, because as you point out, this has existed before. But as we reintroduce co-op ed, this is the kind of thing that we would be exploring as well. Sharon, I see you have your hand up for another question. You can, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Because I was writing when you were going through the wage subsidy options, there were 4, I believe. Could you mind showing again before you depart the option 1?
The option 1,
4.
we will do that, but we will also be sending a PDF of all these slides probably later today or tomorrow morning. So you'll be able to consult
that's
that
fine then.
there as well.
I withdraw my request. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Another question, are there opportunities for longer work terms, for example, of 8 months? And what programs are looking to offer co-op work terms? Well, for the initial question, honestly, at this point, longer co-op terms of 8 months as a sort of a formal co-op work term is not something that we are planning on. That isn't to say that that couldn't work out in individual cases, but that would depend on the program and on the student as well as the employer. So in terms of how they're built into programs, they will be 3 to 4 month work terms. Which programs are looking to offer co-op work terms? Well, that list that I showed you earlier on, Lori, could we quickly go back to that list? Great. So these are the ones that are on our radar screen. We would love to be able to say that there were going to be work terms for co-op work opportunities for all of these as early as the summer of 2022, but that's just not feasible. It will take us a bit more time to do that. What would be really helpful from those of you who are on today that have an interest in this is actually to identify programs that would be of most interest to you. And you can do that by means of the email feedback that I'll talk about momentarily. What that would help us to do if you identify specific program areas, we can focus our attention on those program areas as priorities. So I would encourage you to do that. Feel free to put more questions, but I'm going to actually go into my closing comments right now. So we're eager to work with you as employers to develop these co-op and in due course other work integrated learning opportunities that benefit you both in the short term and the long term, at the same time as they really enhance the educational experience that students will be getting, which in turn enhances their value to you as graduating students that you hire into longer term positions. Our development is a work in progress. Like I said, we'd love it if you had identified program areas that are of specific interest to you. We will be sending you the slides, as I mentioned. We will also keep you, as folks who have registered in one of these sessions, we'll keep you apprised as specific program opportunities are taking shape. In the meantime, we would ask that you feel free to send us questions or comments or specific programs of interest. You can do so by using this email address, will@cotr.bc.ca, and we would respond accordingly. We have 2 additional webinars coming up. The first is next week, November 25th at 4 p.m. and December 2nd at 1 p.m. These are actually going to be pretty much identical to what you have had here today. So this isn't so much for you to come to. It is if you have others that you think might be interested in this, please bring it to their attention. And we would be really, really pleased if you would do that. If there are no other questions, we'll actually stay on just for a little bit. So if you have a question still, feel free to hang on for a moment to ask that question. We thank you for your time today. We look forward to this as the start of a conversation with you about work integrated learning and co-op education, and not the final conversation. So we look forward to ongoing communication with you about this and developing into concrete opportunities for both you and the college. Thank you very much.